Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SecurityGuyTv.com. That's episode 1673. My next guest, Mr. Craig Taylor of CyberHoot.com. Mr. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chuck. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I love the name, and I'll tell you what I think it means. And I didn't talk to you about this, but you give a hoot about security. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Years ago, when we were kids growing up, give a hoot, don't pollute.
Exactly.
And now we want to give a hoot about security because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure for small to medium-sized businesses and personally, individually, for us as people. As you know, we use computers to run our lives. We need to be protected personally and professionally. So my background, I've been in cyber for 25 years, and I've worked for all kinds of multinational companies, large Fortune 1000, and they have cybersecurity training down pat. I mean, you would go, if you're at a bank, you're getting hours and hours of training on cybersecurity every month. But when I went to work for an MSP, a managed service provider who helps out companies with 5 to 500 employees, I saw that no one was getting trained. And then because I was doing cyber for that company, cybersecurity, I was getting called in to handle the compromises, the emergencies. One example, and I use this all the time in my training, and I love bringing this out. I don't know if you can see this, but here is like $26,000 in Apple gift cards that was given or purchased by an HR person at the behest of the president of the company, and happened to be not the president of the company, and she maxed out her credit cards and the company cards, and $26,000 later, that it was discovered that this was a phishing attack, and she had no clue. Right? As a cyber professional, my hair stood up on end the moment I heard gift cards. That's why I created CyberHoot, was because of that incident and hundreds more in the SMB space. Look, it's not a fair fight today, Chuck. We've got hackers who are really, really good attacking small to medium-sized businesses that don't have any training, any defenses to the attack. It's not a fair street fight. It's like going to a street fight and not even knowing how to box, let alone having a baseball bat or a gun or anything else. It's just not fair. And these companies are being taken advantage of every single day. So CyberHoot and CISO in a Box was created to automate and provide that protection simply, effectively, and quickly.
Craig, tell me why this is happening when there's so much education. We seem to have a group of people that don't want to get cybersecurity, aren't even curious about it. They ignore it completely, and they're victimized. It's amazing to me with the information out there that this is still happening.
Chuck, I think you and I are jaded because we've been in the industry and we've seen so much and we know what can happen. If you Google Craig Taylor, NHBR, cybersecurity is a school curriculum necessity, you'll find an article I wrote 3 years ago about how our school systems are not teaching our children the basics of cybersecurity. Look, you can graduate, Chuck, from MIT, Harvard, any of the Ivy League schools and have 1 hour, if you're lucky, of cybersecurity training and education on password hygiene or password managers or two-factor authentication. Look, this is not rocket science. These are simple concepts. You mean to tell me that people are not aware because they don't want to know, or because no one's ever told them what needs to be done, why password hygiene matters? If you're watching this video right now and you want to do 2 things to protect yourself personally and professionally, adopt a password manager, figure out how to use it. I've heard people tell me it's life-changing, and I'm not kidding. I'm talking about lots of different people who didn't know what it was. Adopt a password manager, set up two-factor authentication on all your critical accounts, and if you do just those 2 things, you're going to be miles ahead of most of the people on this planet. But I think we're doing a disservice in our schools, in our businesses, in our SMBs when we're not teaching people basic cybersecurity skills for the 21st century. Look, in the 20th century, you would say that learning to type on one of these, a keyboard, was a critical skill, because these things called computers were going to be useful, and we're going to automate our lives and be so helpful. And so we took keyboarding skills and we learned how to type. Many of us, some of us didn't, but many of us did. That is a incredibly powerful, productive, and a useful skill for the 21st century we live in. Cybersecurity is the same exact thing. We cannot operate our lives today without knowing how to use a password manager, how to set up two-factor, how to have some basic cybersecurity skills and be successful. We will have compromises personally, we'll have compromises professionally, and our businesses will suffer. And so that's what I decided 5 years ago to solve with this CISO in a box and this CyberHoot.com program. We give it away free for personal individuals. So if you want today, go sign up for a six-part video series called our CyberHoot Bootcamp at CyberHoot.com, and you can learn exactly what I'm talking about in probably under an hour of total time. But if you like it, please bring us into your company so that we can teach all of your colleagues. If you're a business owner, so we can teach your employees this basic cybersecurity hygiene. It's so necessary, Chuck, but it's not happening in this SMB space. I have to work really hard with the managed service providers to convince them to bring this product to their clients. And once they do, magic happens. 97% re-signing on the MSP agreements with the clients that are in CyberHoot at some of my MSPs that have adopted this. That tells a story. That says those clients are very happy with the value they're getting. It really affects change quickly when you invest this small amount of time with your employees each month. And when you add on the virtual Chief Information Security Officer, we should define that term. That's what CISO defined as, to help guide and manage incidents or program development. We can build it all in within the CyberHoot platform. We've got policy governance, so you can establish your WISP, your written information security policy, password policy, acceptable use policy, information handling policy, and dozens more policies if you need them. And processes, wire transfer process, big one, that's important. Lots of wire transfer fraud going on in the SMB space. You can phish test your employees with our solution, right? What is that? That means sending them messages that are phishing attacks to see which employees open the phish, click on the link, enter credentials, heaven forbid. And we can then address those employees directly with some additional training. We can do dark web searches. So we can report to your administrators at your company which accounts have been exposed, not necessarily compromised, but the password has been seen on the dark web for this person's account, whether it's LinkedIn, Dropbox, Yahoo, all huge breaches from recent years. And then instruct people that the only fix for that, besides changing your password, is to adopt that password manager. So you can then have unique passwords everywhere you go online. That way, when a new website's breached, you only have to change it in one spot. For everybody listening, if you're reusing passwords and one of those sites is compromised, how many places do you have to change your password? Would you even know? Probably not. So that's what, Chuck, that's what we're out to fix and help and solve. And, we're doing it, we've grown 500% this year at CyberHoot in the pandemic from last year. So it's working.
That's fantastic news. Now, my mother didn't raise any dumb kids, but I'm no genius. And when I put my mind to this stuff, I get it, right? But you just have to apply. And I believe every person on earth is capable of learning this. I don't want anybody to think this is over your head. It's too complicated. On the entry level, it is not. And it actually is kind of fun. When you start seeing how things are wired together and how the internet works, it's really kind of magic and kind of amazing. And I think people would really do well to check out your service.
You've hit on our tagline, which isn't in our graphic. It says, "Become more aware to become more secure." And
Craig Taylor, CyberHoot.com. I love the name. I love the tagline. Guys, check them out at CyberHoot.com. Thanks for coming on Security Guy TV and Black Hat 2020.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chuck.